Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is DJ PyroBobBaby, and I'm going to show you what all happened to get that intro video to make it possible using an APC-40 and VDMX. You can do this with the free version of VDMX, you just won't be able to save it at the end. But that's kind of good for new users because it gets you used to what you have to do to get it set up. And I've started, of course, with this APC-20 example. All I've done is added clips into it. I've done a right click here, added a built-in source live input. I've added both the FaceTime camera and my Logitech camera up here to the clips. And I'll go ahead and launch one of those. And there I am. Hello. Let's launch this other one rather. And there goes the APC, so you can see what I'm going to show you here. Okay, so first off, we got these up and down arrows. These are going to be perfect for scrolling up and down through our clips. So all we have to do is go to Window, Workspace Manager, go to your clip launch. That's a media bin. Why they call it, they've renamed it to clip launch, that confuses me, but if you were to add a new one, it would be a media bin. So find your media bin or your clip launch, and there it is under transpose up and down. So of course click transpose up, detect. You're going to click the up arrow on your APC, detect your down arrow on your APC, and then there you see immediately now you can scroll up, and it keeps this pack, whatever it is, 5 by 8, it keeps that going. First thing I want to do as well, while we're already in our workspace, go to add a 2-channel mixer. We got this crossfader over here on the APC-40, and I feel like it's perfect for having layer 1 and layer 2. I only use 2, maybe 3 layers because of my crappy computer. I only got single gig video, so I'm really in the market for a new computer once I get to a little bit more money. So first thing we're going to do now that we have our 2-channel mixer is wherever it is. Do you see it? There it is. Let's beef it up just a little bit. We'll make layer 1. We don't have a second layer yet. We'll go to layers, make layer 2. Now we'll go over here and be able to add that to layer 2. And then something I'd like to do here, this mixer, let's put it behind. Oh, let's detect all. Now play with your mixer on your APC, and there you go. Now we've got layer 1, layer 2 on it. We really don't need to see it here because it's just mimicking what we're doing on our deal there. So I'm just going to take this and drag it behind our layer 1 composition down here. Alright, great. So we've got our 2-channel mixer. We've dragged down behind our layer 1 composition. I'd also like to, at this time, go to our workspace manager. Under layer 2, take its windows here and bump them out. There, now we can move our workspace manager out of the way. We'll take our layer 2 composition and put it behind layer 1 composition. Layer 2 source behind layer 1 source. And layer 2 effects behind layer 1 effects. So now we've already added an up-down arrows and crossfader. What I like to do is, you may do your layers completely different, but over here on this APC, these buttons right below the clip launch buttons, I like to make one launch layer 2 in this media bin and one launch 1. So what I want to do here is click around in this box until our UI inspector shows up here. And then on layer 1 here, I just want to click detect, and I'm going to push this box right here. And then on layer 2, detect that. And then I want to go to echo values back out 2 on both of them. So I wanted to show what layer it's on. Now you see how it's just on 1, now it's on 2, because constantly up here this is either going to be on 1 or 2. That's why only one of them stays on, and that's why it doesn't shut off or anything. So essentially what I could do is have it on layer 1, I bring up a clip, which is the FaceTime camera, click over to layer 2, select a second layer, you don't see anything, but then I start to crossfade into layer 2. There you see the hands. And then I use the APC to select layer 1, select a different layer to put on layer 1, and then crossfade back into that layer. So this is probably really at home for you audio DJs. And of course, if you're on a layer that you're crossfaded on and then you launch a new clip, it's going to be immediate. So as you can see here on my APC, I'll beef my video up for you. You can see I've taped off these 4 left faders and the 4 right faders. I've also taped off these 2 knobs and these 3 knobs. This is for my effects. So what I've got here, what I'm going to show you how to do is I'm going to have a group of effects on layer 1 right here. This is going to be my effects for layer 2. We can share these sliders because if you have an effect off, it doesn't matter if you mess with the slider on it, as well as if you have a different effect on, that would be, these would still be considered off. So you can have every single effect you want on the first fader and it wouldn't matter. Yeah, this APC, see I'm playing with this fader and it's zooming in. This APC defaults some weird things to these sliders, and as soon as I discover them, I always delete them. See how these are going up and down? I want to put this back at 1. So I'll put it at 1, put that back at 1, and then I'm going to disable, 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 disable. So this opacity is right here too. I'm going to disable that. One thing about the crossfader though that I want to change, it's easier to show you. We'll go to our workspace manager, and on our plugins we don't actually have to look at the crossfader down here, but right here in the middle, it's taking half the brightness of this one and half the brightness of that one. So it's actually kind of dumbing the brightness down on both of them. And sometimes I like to have a camera on my one layer and a background on another layer, and I want them both brighter. So what I'm going to do here is just move this brightness all the way over to the middle. So they're both bright as hell in the middle and all the way over, but then they both dim out as it gets over. So now you'll see how they're both just brighter, and when you're sharing a layer. And I like to share layers a lot, so that's one thing I like to change in the 2-channel mixer, and somebody can tell me I'm wrong. It's all about preference in my world, because I do a lot of weddings and a lot of people that haven't seen anything like this. So just to have their slideshows up and a few videos and to see themselves on the dance floor is really something that they're excited to see. So, you know, even something as simple as that, obviously I wouldn't show my board, but I'd be showing them themselves. That'd be great. So moving right along, I'm going to put my preview window over this media bin, because you know what a media bin is. You've seen it before. Now we'll go down to our layer 1 and layer 2 effects. Layer 1 has got some effects already going on here. So what I'm going to do is move my layer 1 effects over here to this box, and then that way I've got layer 1 and layer 2 effects going on. These effects windows are a little bit of an annoying beast, but once you get used to it, it's okay. For example, 1 is obviously off. Alright, now if I want to save this as 1, I just push plus, and there I have a 1. Alright, and then let's say I push plus, and now I have a 2, and I had a glitch, and there's my glitch, you know, hey, cool. Alright, so I'll go back to 1 because I want it off. Boom, it's back off. Alright, I want to go back to 2 because I want that. Well, where is it? I click on 2 and it's gone. You have to write it with this thing right here. So if I want 1 to be off, I don't do anything to it. If I want 2 to be on, it doesn't even really matter which one I'm clicked on at the moment. I could add a 3, 4, 5. I could be on 4, and I add a glitch there. Then I just click this right. See how it turns red and turns to a W, and then I click the 2. Whichever one you click is what's going to save on. So I click the 2, and now 2 is saved to be this glitch. If I accidentally click 3, 4, and 5 afterwards before I turn this right off, then it actually saves all of these as that too. So if you do all your work and plug in all 12 of these effects, and at the very end you accidentally leave this button on and click through them to see what you've done, you will accidentally save over your old thing. So it can be a little bit of a bear. So let's watch in fast motion as I just take these default effects and we're gonna just copy them right over. Now, you can see how these effects, I've been able to copy them over, and then they disappear out of here until you click back through, and just like when you, just like Xing out of them, as soon as you open it back up, it goes to the last thing you did when you had this right button on. So once you get it set, then I guess you won't be able to mess it up unless you turn that right button on. So that's kind of what they're aiming for. So now we have our default effects on layer 1. We've got those copied over into layer 2, effect 1 being blank for off. And now we're going to program our MIDI controller to use these buttons to trigger effects for layer 1 and 2. So we'll click on these boxes and find our UI inspector. It might be behind. There it is. And there it shows our 5 effects. So what do you want to use for your layer 1 effect off button? I use all 12 of these buttons to trigger different effects. And I use this button down here, the actual, it says play. There's one that says play, stop, and record down here. I use these outside too to cancel layer 1 and cancel layer 2 effects. You can do whatever you want, whatever feels natural to you, but it feels good to me to launch an effect with here, to play an effect here, and to change effects to whichever one I want. No pressure. And then if I want to turn them off, it's easy just to tap it. This will light up and show me which effect is on, and tapping it to turn it off won't. I don't need to see any feedback there. So that's why I've chosen to do it that way. I invite you to tape your board in your own way and do what makes sense to you, because that's ultimately, you're turning this into an instrument that you're going to be using on the fly. So do what makes sense to you. This is what makes sense to me. So now we've got layer 1, which is off. So I'm going to click that up here, click detect, and I'm going to push this button down there. Then I'll click layer 2, and I'll click detect, and I'm going to effect 2 is actually now effect 1, essentially, since 1 is off. So I'm going to select the top left of my effects buttons down here, and then I want it to echo the values back, and I want to let's see. When programming this stop buttons is pretty easy. There's not much. You just do toggle on input, toggle on fall, ignore repeats. But on the launch, we want a value from input and leave these blank. Make sure you're echoing back. And let's let's go ahead and do layer 3 here. I keep saying layer, but it's effect 3. A little bit extremes going on here, but we're going to detect, and this is going to be our second effect. So we're going to push this second button on the on layer 2 effects here. We're going to change the value from input. Don't tell it to prevent repeats. We're going to echo values back to receiver. So that allows us to move between effect 1 and effect 2 and off very effectively. So I was my cluttering around was playing with this toggle on input, determining which was the best way for they get this software to communicate with the APC. And for this particular case, we want, if there's no effect on, like right now, we want to be able to push the effect off button all day with no problem. That's happening. And then if we want to push effect 1 or effect 2, we want that to launch then, and we also want that light to be on. And as we switch, we want the light to switch. And then as we turn it off, we want that light to turn off. And that is what we've been able to do. So you can watch and fast forward as I do the fourth effect, which is going to be the third. Let's click detect. Great. The 4 are switching through. Their lights are staying on just for their effect, and then they're turning off anytime I push the effect off. So great. I'll go ahead and program layer 1's effects. Okay, now with any luck at all, I should be able to stop and then do effect 1, 2, 3, 4, and stop, all on layer 1 only. So I could have my layer 2 be clean, layer 1 there, and there's an effect for layer 1, and then bring it in and then add an effect for layer 2 of a totally different kind. So that's awesome. So I encourage you, then we'll turn those effects off. I encourage you to fill the other 8 slots with your own effects by just going in here to each of your side. Maybe just do it on one side and then copy it over. So this miscellaneous key C, red, green, and blue delay, that's one of my favorites. So, and then you would just add a new slot. So this would be the next slot. You would write that to that slot, turn the right button off. That way now you go to a different slot and back to it. You would click on it, go to your UI inspector. If you need to find it, your UI inspector, there it is. Go down to the newest one that you just added, detect, go to your next button. This is layer 1, so it'd be the next row down. It'd be effect number 5, since like we said, effect number 1 is off. So it goes from 2 up. So we start with effect number 5, second row there. Go down, echo, boom, and then now you got your own effect, red, green, and blue delay. Now, very important. All these effects are really these got a lot of pre-motion going on here, but so does this guy. Now let's say this motion right here is tied to like a clock or something. Let's right click that, use data sort, use detect all, and then it's on this second effect. So I'm going to move slider. This is layer 2. There you go. See how it's this effect right here? It's effect 2 essentially, but this slider is directly below it. Like I was saying earlier, you can use this slider for this effect and then then use it, turn around and use it for this effect, turn around and use it for this effect, and it won't hurt you. It won't hurt the program. It's fine. It only has one going at the same time. But just like earlier, if we go back to our effect, it's back to the computer moving it, because even though you can kind of program your buttons to launch these in the UI inspector, this little window box thing that comes up that I don't see right now, you got to program these sliders again with this red and green little W and R. I don't know if it's really green, but I'm going to right click, detect all, move my slider again. So there's my slider. I can manually do it. Now I just need to click this right and then permanently write that to number 3 and then turn that off. And then now I'll be able to turn that effect off, relaunch that effect, and then it's always going to be this slider going. So that's awesome. So let's go to the next one, and its slider is going on the computer here. Let's detect all and use the slider directly below it. So now we have that one going. So perfect. I don't really know what this effect is. Ooh, detect all. There we go. Trace. I guess it's making a tracer of a certain type. There, I guess it is. That's cool. So there you go. You got your effects for layer 1 over here, effects for layer 2 over there. You detect all, move your slider for whichever one is typically below it or what feels most comfortable to you. You write that to your effects box by changing this to a W and making that permanent. And then you do that for both sides until you fill up both of these effects chunks. So now it's awesome. You're cruising. You got layer 1 you can go to. You select a clip. You're playing layer 1. You got a crazy effect going on it. You're messing with that effect. And then you bring in layer 2 and you add an effect to that, and there you are messing with the effect for layer 2, and the party is in your hands. Now, one thing I've done over here, and what I'll leave you on, is another quick effect that I like for what I do, and it's pretty simple. You just add a I want you to add a vidbox, red, green, and blue equalizer to this side. And I want you to save it as effect number 7. I got effect number 7 down here, and I want to write that to number 7. What I'm basically going to do here is, this is going to be my red, green, and blue equalizer. And this is going to be my filter for layer 1, filter for layer 2. These two buttons below are going to be layer 1 on, layer 2 on, and then you'll use the same effects off buttons below here. But here's what we're going to do. We've got 5, 6, 7. We're going to add vidbox, red, green, and blue equalizer. We're going to right click the red, detect all, and then turn the knob. We're going to right click the red, detect all, turn the same knob. We're going to right click the blue, what is this, green, detect the middle knob, and then, you guessed it, detect the last one with the last knob. So now you have equal effects. And then we're going to right click the filter. This is going to be this left knob on the bottom here, and this is going to be the one directly to the right of that for layer 2. And that's why I've got them taped off in this way, where these 3 clump together and they kind of connect to these 2, but these 2 are got a little thing separating them. So these are shared, and these are layer 1 and layer 2. So before I go any further, I need to, now that I've programmed these knobs to these sliders on here, it's very vulnerable. I need to write those to number 7 on both. I click it twice
Just to be safe. I'm going to write this one to number 7 here, to make those permanent. Alright, now I'm going to click on layer 1.
Go to my UI inspector and then find number 7 here. Click detect. I'm going to click this button over here below the filter knob that I just assigned and play with my button here. That seems to be effective. Seems to be the similar type of button assignment as before, where we're just pushing detect, clicking the button, echo the effects back, value from input, do not repeat. This one I needed to echo the effects back. Okay, so now we got those both. Okay, so now I can turn on my red, green, and blue equalizer. I can play with this color filter right there. That's a great, very powerful knob. I can move with the beat of the music and then quickly change the red, green, and blue equalizer of my layer there, and then there's my second layer. But one thing I want to do here, it doesn't matter which ones you do, I want this and this to be the opposite, this and this to be the opposite, this and this to be the opposite. These two, I want them on their own knob, because see, they already have their own knob, and it's up to you to have one up or one down, or to look at what you're doing. But these other ones, if I turn the red up on layer 1, I want the red to drop on layer 2. So all we got to do is click this, click here, or click there, whichever one you want to change, and then get to your UI inspector. Once again, always find your UI inspector in the window, and then just click invert value. So I'm just going to go to layer 2 and invert the outside 2, and then I'm going to invert the inside 1 on this other one. So now when I turn up this one, that one goes down. When I turn that one up, that one goes down. And when I turn that one up, that one goes down. That way I can have 2 layers going. I can filter them out as well as I want, but then I can switch them back and forth by pulling color in and out together. So I really think that's a fun way, and that way, no matter what, you're not shutting one all the way down. You're turning one up, but you're turning one down, but you're turning the other one up, and you're switching different parts of the layer. It's weird when you do white stuff, because the white stuff will like just disappear, and sometimes it'll start to turn blue, but not green. So this is a really cool way to use these knobs and these 2 buttons over here, and then figure out a different way to use this last knob. Share it for something, or have it be your brightness for your canvas altogether. So before we go, I want to write this again, write it to number 7, and write this again to excuse me, get this out of the way. We've messed with number 7 here. When we inverted those values, when I clicked here and told this to invert, if I'd have gone back to 6 and then back to 7, it might not have saved that until I did that and made it for sure. So with these FX boxes, that is a pain in the butt, and you guys, I did some work for you figuring that out all by myself. I could not understand how this thing worked. It took me 4 hours on a Saturday, and oh man, I wanted to pull my hair out, and then I figured it out, and I was like, that just makes too much damn sense. But anyways, there you go. Play with your APC-40. Make a cool video too. Make one cooler than mine and post it on my wall and make me look like a damn fool and teach me something I don't know. Why don't you? Because, you know, damn it, I don't really feel like making all these YouTube videos, but I really got into VDMX a year ago, and there's none on here, so someone's got to do it, man. I'm stepping up. I'd love to see one of you guys post a better video than me, and I'd love to share it for you and support you and your projects. So it'd be great to meet you guys. Shoot me a message or leave me a comment. I appreciate you watching. I'm DJ PyroBobBaby.